The North Dorset Councillor, who used to oversee adult social care when the Conservatives ran County Hall, says a 3-month delay in determining the fate of Shaftesbury's Trinity Centre is unacceptable.
It's very disappointing and more concern and worry for people that use the service. I don't understand why it's been delayed. There was a very clear timeline of when the report was coming to overview. A lot of people were waiting for it anxiously, and now, without explanation, really, it's not happening.
That's Councillor Jane Somper. She's the ward member for Melbury, Fontmell, Compton and Ashmore on Dorset Council. Jane says residents of Shaftesbury and her villagers who rely on the adult daycare services at the Trinity Centre in Bimport will face uncertainty over the Christmas break, not knowing whether those services will be retained or whether the recommendation to close the facility, which has been used for adult social care since the 80s, will go ahead, despite strong public opposition voiced at public meetings and by locals on social media.
It has taken some time to get to this point, and I think people have had enough. The level of anxiety just increases the longer you have to wait to know what the fate of your day centre is going to be. You know, the people that go to the Trinity Day Centre in Shaftesbury, you know, they are concerned. And that increases day by day. So all this is doing is increasing that anxiety for our residents.
Have you got any inkling about what might happen with the Shaftesbury services?
Absolutely none. Have no idea.
Dorset Council say their plan is to have a main base in the north of the area at Sturminster Newton, their hub, with some spoke facilities operated in the community. But they haven't specified what will be offered in the Shaftesbury area or where. They say much of the focus has been on elderly users, although adult social care covers anybody aged over 18, and the authority says some users would prefer a more informal setting for activities and events like cafes and pubs. The council say their decision has been informed by a 3-month consultation exercise.
There were 1,500 responses, 2 petitions and 334 people replied to a direct council survey. Their views have not been made public, but it seems there are some clear patterns emerging following the council questionnaire. 2/3 of respondents had used a traditional day service. A similar number felt they were important because they gave a chance to be with friends and offered interesting activities. 1/4 of respondents said having a familiar building mattered to them, but Dorset Council says more said they wanted to be independent and learn new skills. 14% of people who replied did not have any formal support, and 12% of people who replied across the county to the consultation said transport was a problem. Alfred has highlighted concerns expressed in the public meeting at the Trinity Centre from Shaftesbury residents who would have to change buses at Gillingham to reach the hub and Sturminster Newton if the Trinity provision ends. The survey also found that most people travelled fewer than 5 miles to their day opportunities. The authority says the feedback has been valuable and insightful and will play a key role in shaping the future of day opportunities. They also add that they understand change brings uncertainty, but claim their vision is for more services that people want and need, and services that will be delivered locally wherever possible and practicable.
Following that consultation in the summer, Dorset Council's People and Health Overview Committee was meant to consider responses on the 3rd of November. The meeting was cancelled because some key players couldn't attend. Alfred saw an email from a council officer saying that an information report would instead be provided. Councillors told us that meant there wouldn't be a full debate, but instead an informal session behind closed doors about the future daycare opportunities. There were concerns that it would be a private event.
It was very clear on that timeline. It was coming to that overview committee with no explanation. There was talk of an informal meeting with members of that overview committee, which would mean no one from the public could go, or members who don't sit on that committee. So I couldn't go and other members wouldn't have been able to go. So that appears now to have changed, and it's now going to February. But that's a long time.
Jane says there's a routine inspection of Dorset Council's adult services by the Care Quality Commission currently.
I mean, I accept and understand that Dorset Council have a CQC in at the moment, and I know that's an enormous pressure. But this is one meeting that was promised a long time ago.
The report will now be tabled in a meeting in February. The Cabinet will decide what happens in March. But there's one question Alfred's not been able to get an answer to. A BBC report on the 19th of August said the Blandford adult daycare facility had been saved. The consultation exercise is looking at the future of 6 sites, not just Blandford, but also Shaftesbury, Sherborne, Ferndown, Wareham and Swanage. We've been keen to find out why Blandford appears to have been thrown a lifeline, because some locals have told us that's not fair. We've tried several times to find out from Cabinet member Steve Robinson if the BBC report is accurate, and if it is, why Blandford's future has been determined when a question mark still hangs over Shaftesbury.
Everything should be considered together. I mean, obviously, when officers will work on it, they'll go through them one at a time. And I don't know where the BBC got their information from. There was a large campaign from the Blandford Day Centre. The local members, Councillor Quayle and Councillor Lacey Clark, along with the MP Simon Hall, lobbied hard, got a petition together, got the press involved.
Jane Somper says Dorset councillors have private internal webinars, online web chats between members and officers.
A question was asked about Blandford. The indication was that it would be not closed. It was a large building, and for that to be said about one particular day centre, and for everybody else to be going, okay, well, you know about that one. Well, you've made a decision there.
With no public decision made at that time or now about the other sites, Jane Somper says she doesn't know how Dorset Council's Corporate Director Commissioning Adult Social Care, Mark Tyson, could have told the BBC that the Blandford Adult Daycare Centre was saved from closure.
Why don't you know about the one where we are? Why don't you know about the one in Shaftesbury? If you can tell us what you're going to be doing in one, this doesn't make any sense.
She hopes the Cabinet member responsible, Councillor Steve Robinson, will come forward and explain why the decision hasn't been made about Shaftesbury yet.
You know, when there seems to be anomalies, it's helpful for people to understand why that is, and perhaps he could provide some clarity. Perhaps now he will. Now there's been a delay, he may wish to do that. As I said, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him about this matter.
Maybe Shaftesbury daycare users who visit Trinity have nothing to worry about. Back in June, Steve Robinson told us no decision had been made, but he suggested strongly it would be good news for people reliant on the service at Shaftesbury's Trinity Centre.
No final decision has been made, but based on the strength of opinion and the feedback we've received, we have every reason to hope that the services will continue.
We've reached out to Dorset Council again for clarity. Dorset Council say they'll continue discussions with a range of organisations involved in the future of day services to make sure users can look forward to a new model of opportunities, giving flexibility, more choice and greater partnership working across all communities. The public meeting at Shaftesbury's Trinity Centre heard concerns that it could be more difficult to rely on unpaid volunteers than paid staff to provide some of these services. Dorset Council have said, though, they will be working with all sector organisations, including charities, to support people in local areas. And the council say a formal response to the consultation will be published very shortly.
You know, and the work is an important piece of work, and it's been, I've supported the work, and I think, you know, the fact that day services do not necessarily need to be delivered in a building. There are all sorts of ways of experiencing a day service of some kind. I subscribe to that. But, you know, I don't know what the officers are going to be recommending and what those recommendations are based on. And neither does anybody else. And now we're all going to have to wait until February.
We have offered Dorset Council an interview. We'll let you know what they say if they come back.